Come with us on a journey into the unknown, the unexplained, and the unbelievable. We will test your senses and challenge your beliefs. A world where science and religion clash. Or do they? You will meet real people and hear real stories, but you will not believe. You will witness strange sights and hear strange sounds, but you will not believe. This is the New England Ghost Project. Welcome to the nightmare.
Live long and prosper. Welcome to Ghost Chronicles, Next Generation. I am Ron Kolek, your starship captain for the day. With me, a lovely co-host, the Bombshell herself. With how many hands?
Hi, everybody.
And Kerrigan.
How are you?
What is that?
Henna.
Oh.
Henna? You've
Is
never
there a
seen henna
reason?
tattoos?
Yes, I have. You did that big skull on me. Remember
Yeah.
at Spirit Quest?
It's just one of the many weird things that I do in conjunction with my face painting.
Yeah,
do
I mean, like you had
henna
nothing to do,
tattoos.
so you just did henna?
No, I've been doing henna pop-ups. So
henna
different
pop-up.
local locations in East Bridgewater, and people
So-
come by and they
So
get
like
henna.
a street vendor.
Kind of.
Okay, cool.
I just
Just was wondering.
put it out there on Facebook and say I'm going to be at Restoration
Does it
Coffee
work?
doing henna tattoos. Yeah, sometimes.
Oh. I might do pop-up ghost lectures.
Okay. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Hi, I'll be there.
Yes. But anyways,
I'll
hey
tell you
everybody.
about ghosts.
Nice to see you and
Yep.
all Happy New Year.
We already did that. That was
Boop, boop.
oh, this is the first video of the new
This
year.
is the first video. It's live
It
video
is like
of the new year.
22nd of January.
Yes, I know. But anyways.
Yep.
So,
We have a great show tonight, don't
yes, we do.
Right.
We do.
we? Somebody you know very well.
Yes, you know, I've been trying to get this guy on the show for a while.
Why? What's
Yeah.
wrong with him?
What's wrong with him?
Yeah, I didn't want to be on the show.
Well, I'm going to introduce him and then you'll find out why.
Okay.
So tonight I would like to introduce our local, he's not from East Bridgewater, but he's our local historian. He is an author and he's also a paranormal investigator. Welcome, Wayne and I.
Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everyone.
That's a good English name, now, right?
English, correct.
Yeah.
I like that.
But the reason that we're waiting so long to finally get Wayne on the show is because he's waiting for his book to be published.
Oh,
Exactly.
book?
Finally, it's here.
what book?
Yes. So
What book?
this book right here.
They can't see it laying on a table.
So this is Wayne's brandy new book called Faces in the Window. And
It's my
it
face
is, your face is not in there. It is not. It is not. But
Some more books.
he's been waiting and waiting. And Wayne, tell us a little bit about what's been happening with this book.
It's been a year overdue. It was a lot of work, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And the book itself is based on the old Masonic building downtown on West Union Street here in East Bridgewater. Mrs. Swift's Some More Antiques and Gifts is where it all started, and that's what started our ghost tour as well as our paranormal team, Massachusetts Area Paranormal Society.
Excellent. So it's
Where
been,
were you born?
In Brockton.
Yeah, I can tell.
Stop it.
He's got that accent,
An
the Bostonian
yeah.
accent. He does.
Yeah, but Brockton doesn't have an accent.
He does?
Well,
Well, what?
we all do. We're from Massachusetts.
No, you don't. He does.
Oh, I'm being told to hold up the book. Ta-da! There you go. There is the book. We're going to zoom in on the book.
Really?
See?
I think it would.
See,
How come
see?
you didn't zoom in on your henna?
There you
Should have
go.
zoomed in on your henna.
There you go. There's my henna.
Oh, there
okay.
you go. Two at one
That's
shot.
the book.
Faces
Thank you,
in
Russ.
the window. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Russ. All right. All right. Can I put the book down now?
Okay, sure. Excellent.
So it has been a real labor of love.
Correct.
And
So why'd you write a book, basically?
Laurie Parker, who was the proprietor of Mrs. Swift's Some More Antiques, I used to go to all the antique stores here in town locally, and her sister and her sister owned a house in Elmwood, actually, and that's where Laurie's antique shop was, at 741 Bedford Street. And her sister sold the house, and Laurie disappeared from the area, and I couldn't find her. So one day I was down at Main Street Antiques in Plymouth,
I love
and
it.
I was walking around. That place has a reputation, too, for being haunted.
I
I've had
bet.
a couple of things happen there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was walking upstairs on the second floor where they have cubicles that the dealers rented, and all of a sudden I was walking by this booth, and she stands up and scared the crap out of me. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And she says, I'm looking for a new place to open a shop, so I'm renting a booth here.
Ah.
And then the next time I went there, she was gone, and I'm like, now where is she?
Oh.
So I stopped into Elmwood Antiques, and they told me that she moved to the new location down on West Union Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I made my way down there, and as I rounded the corner of West Union and Central, I looked at the building, and I remembered when I was little driving by that with my parents,
Really?
going places, and that building always stuck out in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it was deja vu when I pulled up to the building.
Oh, how cool.
So I went into the shop, and me and Laurie became reacquainted, and we are related distantly.
Really?
Her grandmother's sister married my great-grandmother's brother. So we're distantly related. That's a little confusing.
It is.
And then Laurie told me a story about two girls that had received a digital camera that lived across the street from the shop, and she had her front window that's on the cover of the book here all dolled up for the Christmas season. And they took 3 pictures in sequence. It was late at night, and when they looked at the viewfinder, there were approximately 50 faces pressed up against the glass looking out at them.
Oh,
Wow.
my God.
So when Laurie told me that story, I became obsessed with the building, and I'm still obsessed with it. So I started doing extensive research on the building and the area, uncovering all kinds of things that a lot of people locally didn't even know,
Right.
including the town historian. So we used to swap information, and there was so much information that I decided to write this book.
Wow. That is a lot.
It's over
A lot that happened.
300 pages and 500 photographs, and it's very
Ton of photographs.
in detailed about all the different occurrences, paranormal occurrences there. Our historic ghost store, there's a chapter that has the East Bridgewater Christmas parade. So it includes a lot of the businesses that are down in the center. We mention them because they're all friends with us. So it's a very interesting book.
It's so funny that you should mention the old shop up on in Elmwood, because I remember, oh God, I don't even know, at least 20 plus years ago. I remember going in there, and I may not even have had children yet. That's how long ago it was. And I remember talking to Laurie and
Yeah.
her telling me at that time about a picture that came flying off the wall one day.
Okay.
And that it was breaking. So, and this was before I was even, this was way before I was into the paranormal. So it was a very long time ago. I remember have that conversation in my mind. And, you know, after that, I think I had gone in maybe in that, you know, one more time. And then, yes, she was gone. So she
That
was
house also had a reputation, 741 Bedford
Oh, I
Street,
bet.
and they actually have photographs that they took out into a hallway, and you can see something standing there in the picture.
Oh, wow.
So that
Yeah.
Is
has,
that the one we went to?
No. No, this is
Where did we go?
here, the shop.
Yeah.
That's the one where she is now.
Oh, okay, fine.
yeah, that's
in
this
the-
one here that's
on Union
the
Street.
cover.
Yeah, there's a show that we did on iTunes and also on
Right.
Toji that you can listen to.
Yeah.
Our little thing in there. Yeah,
On location live audio
exactly.
broadcast. That was a very long time ago.
Mhm.
But that is that whole block. I mean, I think East Bridgewater in general has just, it's part of the Bridgewater Triangle. I just think it's a mecca for hauntings. It's a very historic town. And I had a friend who lived, I think, 2 houses up from that old shop in Elmwood.
Okay.
And I remember growing up, she would tell me all the things that happened in her house. And definitely of that era, the house that she lived in as well. Not as nice a house.
I think I know the house. I think it's 847 Bedford.
Sounds right.
It's opposite Cottage Street.
Oh, not that far down. Not that far
Okay.
down. But I have been in that house as well. One of our kids in the multimedia club used to live in there,
Okay.
and we were in there. So it's that whole area is one of the earliest areas, I think,
Yes.
of town. So, but the Masonic. So tell us about it's the Masonic block. Like,
They
refer
called
to
it the Masonic Block.
Yeah.
It was built specifically for the Freemasons, the Setauket Lodge of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons, which was instituted here in East Bridgewater in April of 1881. And this was their second Masonic Lodge building. The original was on North Central Street, and then they had this built after a major conflagration in 1886 destroyed the entire block, consuming around 4 buildings.
Yes. That was the church too, right? Started with the church?
That was years later. There were fires started in the foundry, and all the sparks flew over to the Methodist Church and took the church down.
Okay.
That was in 1903.
Ah, all right. But
God, you know your stuff. I'd be lost.
I try to remember.
That's pretty good.
oh my goodness. So when Lori moved into this shop, how soon after did you find her? Had she just moved in? Had she been there for a while? Or?
She had been there for a couple of months, and then someone from the Elmwood Antiques told me that she was there, so then I started frequenting that shop, and after she told me about the faces that the girls had captured on their camera, I became obsessed with the building, and I was there. I drove by it every day. That's all I would talk about was the building, because when I was younger, I had seen a ghost, but the stories that she told me that had happened here in the building just had my attention. It was like a big magnet drawing me to that building, and I went by there every single day.
Had you already had your paranormal group at that time? Or?
No, we didn't. We did not. Massachusetts Area Paranormal Society wasn't formed until after we started taking pictures through the front window, and then my sister Crystal and her boyfriend Rick Holker started the team.
Okay. So what was happening when she moved in there? What happened?
She saw the photograph that the girls took, and then she was in the bathroom cleaning the toilet out. There was nothing in it after she cleaned it. She'd come back, she'd find a quarter in the toilet. The bathroom would be locked. Of course, the seat was down because it's a female owner that owns the shop. She'd come in the morning, unlock the bathroom. The toilet seat would be up. One day we were there was a group of us in the store. It was Lori, myself, her grandson, and her son, and we were standing there talking, and there was a wicker Victorian basket on the floor, probably 5 feet from where we were standing, and we heard a noise and looked, and it went across the floor by itself and hit this metal pan and sent a metallic sound throughout the shop.
Oh my God.
Another time we were there was a couple of customers. We were standing there talking. There was a loud, forceful knock on the door, and there's 2 glass window panes, and you can see there's no one there. And she has a bell on the back of the door, so when you open it, the bell rings. We all looked. There was no one there. All of a sudden, the door flew open, and the bell was ringing like crazy, and there was no one there.
Oh my God.
That's pretty cool.
So there's a lot of different things that have happened.
So that was okay, right. So she was in that shop first. That's not the shop where she is right now.
Oh,
but that's the
yes.
shop where we went and we did the show.
Correct.
And then I remember, because didn't she give you the quarter?
Yeah, we
And-
used it for psychometry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You brought it to your paranormal study
Right,
group.
exactly.
Right. Because she's like, but you have to give it back.
Yeah, I know, that's
You
how I
have to give
remember.
it
As soon as
back.
she said the toilet. then
Did
I
you give it
remember.
back?
Of course I did.
He,
Oh.
he did, yeah.
I was going to get
He
it
gave
right
it to
now.
me.
If you did.
Yeah, I'll give you a
Wait
quarter.
a minute, I'll get it. Oh yeah. Yep, she had to talk her into it, but She did it.
So,
Funny.
how do you discern between spirits that are haunting the place and spirits attached to all the stuff that she has in the antique place?
That question, I think, is a little difficult to decipher. I mean, a lot of the energies that I believe that are in the building, we had 2 psychic mediums come there, and we actually did a paranormal investigation there of the entire building. And many of the spirits that were there were attached to the building. Some of them are there all the time. Some come and go. Different ones come and go. There was no residuals that the medium came up with. They were all intelligent haunts that were there. So, I mean, as far as items, things can be attached, like the 2 paranormal investigators came into the shop and there was a trunk, that an old steam trunk that belonged to a gentleman, Lewis Haywood, that took his life in Elmwood in 1895. And his name was on the bottom of the trunk, and I was telling them the story, and they had their EMF detector, and it was going crazy around this trunk. So we moved it to another location and went back to the area where the trunk was, and the EMF detector was not going off, but then when they went back to the trunk, it was going crazy. So they actually purchased the trunk.
That's a good way to sell stuff.
So
How do you know about the provenance of pieces of merchandise, like the trunk, for instance? I know they have the name on it, but how do you know who that person was?
well, through research that I have extensive research on the town, and I actually have the article when he took his life in the woods up on West Street in Elmwood.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So, I mean, a lot of the items, some we know where they came from. There was another well-known person in town, Francis Foley, that lived a couple doors down from the shop. And when he passed, Lori and I went down to the house, and she purchased a lot of things and brought them back to the shop. And the following day, we were at the shop, and a real cold spot, cold mass went by us. So she got the EMF detector. We followed it to the front of the store and then to the back of the store, and it dissipated. There was a antique typewriter that we used the EMF detector on, and it was going crazy. Again, we moved this piece to different areas, and the EMF detector was still going crazy. And a girl actually came in the shop the next day, and she goes, "Oh, my boyfriend would love that. He likes antique typewriters." So she explained about the energy with the EMF detector, and she goes, "I don't care, we like that." So she sold the typewriter. Of all the things that came from that house that Lori bought, all we have left is a mirror. All the other things that she purchased from his estate sold within that week.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like what you do. I mean, doing the research. A lot of groups don't really do the extensive research that you do. And also even the little test with the EMF meter, moving an object from one place to another. Yeah, it's impressive, yeah, what you do.
Yeah, all the paranormal investigations, Lori's the caseworker. She'll get all the information and the details from the family, then I usually pull the deeds and do the historical research on the properties because we work with a psychic medium. So when we're on the investigation videotaping, I usually go with the cameraman Wayne Forney and the psychic medium, and if she comes up with something that I found during my research, I'll reveal it at that point.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And we videotape all the investigations so we can validate it on film.
I always liked doing the research part of it.
Yeah, that's the most fun.
That was it wasn't my favorite part. I liked all of it. But
Yeah.
I liked making the connections.
Yes.
So that made it even more interesting. And so my friend Heather
Yes.
now has My Art and Souls in that
Correct.
old shop.
The what?
She has she's an artist. She has
Yeah.
art classes and things.
Art and Souls.
My Art and Souls is the name of the business.
Oh, okay.
So she's a good friend of mine, but she is a riot. She's terrified
It's funny
of
how
that shop.
And yes,
She's
she's
a
there.
riot.
it's
Yeah,
funny how she
is.
got the name of the shop though. So when Mrs. Swifts and Moores moved from there to the other side of the building where Earl's Antiques was, Heather moved in.
Right.
And Lori let the cat out of the bag that the building was haunted. So the original name of Heather's shop was Boston Fun Works. And then when she found out that the building was haunted, she changed the name of her shop to My Art and Souls in memory of the spirits in the building. But when she's in there, and we always try to scare her, she'll be in there, she always has the door open no matter how cold it is, how hot it is.
Yeah.
And like Lori has the set of keys to the shop, so sometimes we'll sneak in the back hallway and into the back room, and she'll come out there and we'll scare her.
Oh, you're awful.
But she does it to us. She does it to us too. So we have fun. We have fun.
it is
She's
so
a great
funny.
person.
Oh, she is. I love her to death. And every time I go down there, she's like, "Bring your recorder." I'm like, "Okay." So I just throw it on the table,
Yeah.
and I'll listen to it later.
Do you get anything?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. There was
enough.
one night I heard. I don't know what it was. Just something funky, but couldn't discern what it was. But yes. So the tradition continues, and I should actually. Have you ever talked to Rose Culp? Because Happy Frog
Yes.
used to be in there too.
She had a lot of stuff go on when she was in that location. I actually talk about, we stop at her location now on Central Street, and I mentioned what occurred in her old shop when she was in the Masonic building.
Yeah. A lot of local businesses in there. Oh, that's funny.
There was also 2 undertakers in there, which a lot of people never know,
Huh.
in the back of the, where Lori's shop is now,
Right.
back in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Ah, the good old days.
It's very cool. You'll have to. We will have to go into the newer place, the shop you have not been in yet, because in the back.
So now I'm totally confused.
Well, so she was in where
Elm
we
Street,
did Elmwood.
Elmwood.
Yeah, it's a section of East Bridgewater.
Yeah,
Then she moved down here to Union Street.
Union Street. That's the
one
one we
building.
went into?
Yes.
Okay.
It was very small, and then she
Yeah,
moved
yeah,
into
but-
a bigger place.
Oh, okay, so we're
After-
talking about a totally different
Yes.
place now.
It's
Two
in the
different
same
places.
building,
Yeah.
the one
It's
where you 2 came that night
Yeah.
for the radio broadcast.
it's all connected.
But wasn't the original shop that I went to, didn't it have the Masonic Temple above it?
Years ago, it
Yeah.
left there in 1982. It was upstairs in the building.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
So you no longer have access to that now, the
To,
Masonic, where the Masonic Temple was?
well, it's a private club, so we used to have a key to the front doors.
Yeah.
When they had to pay their rent, we could go upstairs and leave the check, but then I guess they were having issues, so they put cameras and alarms in, so we no longer have a key.
Oh.
Yeah.
What kind of
That's a
club is
bummer.
that? My type of club,
It's
I
called
think.
the International Club.
Is it really?
Yes.
Sweet.
That's the name of it. Yeah, it's private.
Do you have like secret handshake going?
No, but they've brought at Christmas time they would do tours.
Yeah, the Christmas open house,
Yeah.
and they'd let us give tours of the upper floors.
And it's a very cool place up there. Yeah,
The attic's cool,
I've never been to the attic,
very cool.
but I've heard about it. But
Live people or dead people?
regardless, from
I heard about the attic from live.
live people,
Okay.
not from dead people.
Okay,
I don't
just
talk
curious.
to dead people.
Just curious. I work with so many mediums, and I always ask them, are we talking live people or dead people now?
Oh my goodness! But so the undertakers, who are in her current space,
Mhm.
Was there a
What-
funeral parlor there?
yeah,
They used to handle the bodies there. They would sell the caskets and the funeral robes, so they would process bodies there.
So they were in Barmer?
Correct.
Okay.
There was Prophet and Flynn, which is, Prophet is now on Spring Street at the rear of the building, but they originally opened up a branch of their business there in 1902, and they were there for a year, and then in 1908 there was a David Ross Drake that had an establishment there from January until October, and actually I just purchased his original sign that he had when he was in the Masonic building.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's and we actually have his photograph too hanging in the back room.
Oh, that's cool.
Excellent. It is a very, very cool. They've got it all set up like a Victorian parlor.
That's what she calls it the Victorian parlor, and
Definitely
that's
have to
where
go and take a look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's done a really, really.
she does her table tippings there with
Yeah.
Kate McCooch, who's a psychic medium.
Mm-hmm.
The Titanic, went sank. There was a lot of people that died, right?
Yes.
So they sent out a ship to process the bodies, because at that time there was a law you couldn't bring unprocessed bodies into port.
Oh.
But they only came with 100 coffins. And
Wow.
you know how many people died there, right?
Yeah.
So what they did is when they got the bodies, if you were a first-class passenger, they embalmed you, put you in a coffin, and that. If you were a second-class passenger, you were embalmed and put on ice.
Uh-huh.
And then if you were below that, you were buried at sea.
Oh, that's
I actually have a
terrible.
list from the McKay Bennett that recovered the bodies.
Yep.
It's a copy of the list with all the bodies, and Francis Millett from town is actually on there.
Really?
It lists the details of what they found on them as far as
Yeah,
currency or
they wrote
ranks.
all that down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
that we don't, that's what you love about it. I'm sure that's what you love about researching.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the history and the way things were done at that time and everything. So.
And I'm sure he was a first-class passenger.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And Francis Davis Millett, so he's buried right here in Central
Correct.
Cemetery. Went down on the Titanic here in little old East Bridgewater.
We actually have a violinist at his grave during the tour, Matteo Silva, who played the violin this year.
Oh, cool.
And while he was playing at the grave, he plays Nearer My God to Thee at the grave during the tour. There was actually, we don't know what it was a big mass that came up from behind the stone. We got it on video. One of
That's
the
pretty cool.
one of the patrons, he's playing, and it comes right up from the family grave, which is a huge plot, and goes right between the violinist and the gentleman that we have playing the Undertaker. It goes right between them, and we have it on video.
When
Oh,
you say
that's
video, was
cool.
it infrared video or regular video?
No, it was somebody captured it on their cell phone,
regular,
and then
okay.
they forwarded
Yeah.
it
I
to
got it.
us, and we
Okay.
posted it. It was pretty
Wow.
interesting, though.
That is amazing.
Yeah, because you have to be careful with thermal or infrared video at times, because some of these masses are explainable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, do we want to take,
Yes.
speaking of
The news.
cemetery, we're not going to do cemetery tripping today, but we do have a very special paranews
Paranews
uh,
from Paranormal Nate,
from Paranormal Nate.
our
So we're
ace,
just going to,
ace reporter.
yeah, we're just going to take a little break and go to Paranews, and we'll be back in a moment.
Derek Okora, a popular English TV psychic medium and former guest medium on the British paranormal reality series Most Haunted from 2002 to 2005, died at the age of 69 on January 3, 2020, upon being treated for pneumonia in the hospital, where he later contracted and died from sepsis. The youngest of 3 children, Okora was born Derek Francis Johnson on January 27, 1950. His father, a cook for the Merchant Navy, was often away, and the family lived with his grandmother near Liverpool's port. At the age of 6, Derek encountered the spirit of his grandfather at his grandmother's home. At that time, he didn't realize that he was seeing a spirit person, but when speaking with his grandmother upon what he had seen, she realized that Derek would carry on with the gift that she had and would work for the spirit. Although as a boy, youth, and young man, Derek's interests lay in the arena of football and went on to have a successful career in professional football. He played for his home team, the Liverpool FC reserve squad, and later in Australia until his late 20s, where a serious leg injury forced him to leave the sport. In the mid-80s, he met Sam, his spirit guide, whom he previously known 2,038 years earlier when they both lived in Ethiopia. Sam had saved Derek's previous incarnation from a village feud fight. Sam reassured Okora that all would go well during his first television appearance on the satellite TV channel Granada Breeze in 1996. 2 Granada regulars, Yvette Fielding and Derek Okora, went on to feature in the paranormal TV show Most Haunted on Living TV. After his 2005 departure, other television works include Derek Okora's Ghost Towns, where Derek would visit haunted towns to help rid of locals of evil spirits, and Paranormal Egypt, which used a mix of historical and paranormal investigations to uncover Egypt's mysteries. In 2003, Derek, along with his wife Gwen, began being patrons of Pathfinder Dogs, a charity which raises, trains, and provides guide dogs to the blind in the UK. They loved to get involved whenever they were able to. In front of me are 2 books from my small paranormal library that Derek took part in and wrote the forwards to. The following are just some of the tributes that people have left on social media upon hearing of Derek's passing. Shannon Sylvia: "He gave me a reading for a few minutes and it was incredible. Rest in peace, Derek." Ron Kolek: "One of the most interesting men I ever spoke to. I will miss him." Dave Schrader: "Derek was truly a favorite guest. Funny, gracious, and kind. Godspeed, my friend." Richard Felix: "I am absolutely devastated. My thoughts are with Gwen. God bless you, Derek." Phil Weinman: "I awoke to the news that my old pal passed away. I have so many great memories of working with him." Yvette Fielding: "Our condolences go out to Derek's family at this time." Gwen Okora Johnson: "Farewell, my love. I'll miss you forever."
I'm a great believer, as you are here, so you will be when you leave the physical body. I feel so minnow, and yet feel so great. It gives me a great sense of satisfaction that this can be achieved. I'd never have believed a number of years ago that, I find myself in situations, in investigations with the Most Haunted team, to have the sheer pleasure of, actually communicating with these very, very famous people. And I think it's just, wow, it's the greatest reward in the world to me. And also, in the conversations, if they've been so kind enough, to be told something by someone of great history, something so personal. I just want to pinch myself sometimes.
Well, God bless Derek.
Yeah.
Poor fellow.
It's one of my favorites from the show, actually. Yeah, he was supposed to be on the international show the next month. He died in January. He's supposed to have been on in February because Steve knows I'm a big fan of his.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well, that's...
He got his T-shirt signed by him.
Ooh. Never watched that again.
I never did it. Did I tell you I was touched by Joan Jett?
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Never watched that?
Oh, that's
Ever.
gross. Nice.
It's only a little thing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, let's get back to ghosts.
Oh, okay.
We need to get back to the ghosts.
Was she alive or dead? Joan Jett? Yes. She's doing a show.
She's still alive.
She's doing a show, actually.
She's alive and kicking,
She's
man.
going to be at either Fenway or
Joy.
you don't like Jet?
Yeah, I like her.
Black Hats?
Yeah. Okay.
Man.
I want to talk to Wayne. I don't care about
We
Joan
already
Jett.
talked to her for a half hour.
Oh, stop it. Oh, my God.
All right, Joan.
So, as a result of all your research and your investigations, so something else stemmed from that, which was your tour, your ghost tour.
Correct.
So, can you tell people a little bit about what that encompasses?
The ghost tour is a 2-mile walk. It's about 2.5 to 3 hours. We have approximately 12 costume characters, which are all dressed by Laurie Parker, who's the
cool.
proprietor of Mrs. Swift's and Moore's. And she also sponsors the tour and sells the tickets. I am the narrator, and all of us working together have created the incredible tour. We have one character that's been with us since the beginning, which is Reggie Estes, who lives across the street from the shop. He plays Father Kelly on the tour, which was a priest from St. Bridget's Church, where the East Bridgewater Public Library stands. There was once a church there. So the characters change every couple of years. People have to go off to school or they leave for different reasons.
Are they
but
based on real characters?
They are. All the
Oh,
characters are based
cool.
on people that lived in town about 100 years ago. Paul Coletti, Laurie's husband, plays Constable Roundsville, and he looks similar to the constable from back then. And he's along the tour route. He shows up sporadically along the route. We have a gentleman, Alan Giles, from town, whose great-grandfather actually advocated the enactment of laws to prevent premature burial, and there were a lot of local cases. So he plays the role of the undertaker at the morgue that we have set up in the Victorian parlor in the back room of Mrs. Swift's and Moore's. It's quite a tour. Each year it gets better. We try to implement different things as much as we can. You can't really change the history, but all the research, which was incredible, fell into place. So one day we went for a walk, and all the places that we walked by, I had something on to tell. So originally when we started, the tour route was different, and then we cut parts out to make it quicker. But depending on the size of the group, it still takes a little long. We did change it a little bit this year, where we cut across the historic common instead of walking all the way back down Central Street to the beginning of the cemetery. So we shortened it a little bit, but it's still phenomenal. We have nothing but positive reviews and comments about the tour.
That's
And
awesome.
what does the tour run? When?
Well, it's usually the second to the last week of September, and we just extended it to the second week of November this year. And unfortunately, Laurie had a heart attack on the last night of the tour on November 9th. She's coming along great, so we're hoping that she'll be back. I think she will, because she's been stopping in the shop for a couple hours doing things. So we're anticipating the tour again this year, which will be the unlucky the 13th year of the tour, and all the characters are looking forward. Everybody looks forward to it each year, the characters, and on the last night everybody's all melancholy because it's done for the year, because everyone gets along so great during the tour. We have a blast.
She's feisty.
So,
She's going to bounce right back.
Yeah, she'll be back. I have a strong feeling she'll be
You're
back.
watching this, Laurie.
She's watching.
No, you are going to come back.
She'll be back.
There's no way you're going to give that up. No way.
When do tickets go on sale for this?
Usually the week before we start the tour, she sells them out of the shop, and you can either call or stop in. You got to purchase the tickets in advance so we know how large the groups are. The largest group we had on the tour since we've been doing it is 50 people.
Oh,
Wow.
God bless you.
We can handle it. I mean, I have a big mouth, and you can hear me, but as far as crossing the street, like Route 18 is kind of dangerous.
It's a little dicey.
But
It's like a flash mob.
yeah, and usually
Really, right?
for the past couple of years, when you purchase your tickets, your name goes in a drawing to spend an overnight in the Lizzie Borden house, as one of Lizzie Borden's lawyers is buried here in Central Cemetery. Born
Sweet.
here in East Bridgewater, and he's buried here. So
Wow.
the past couple years, we've been doing the overnight stay to,
Oh, that's very cool.
keep in
What-
his memory as
yeah.
being a lawyer for her defense.
What was his name?
Arthur Sherman Phillips.
Oh,
He was
wow.
one of the 5 that defended her. And
my
the case
God.
actually haunted him the rest of his life. 40 years after the case, after she was acquitted, he was still writing letters to Holmans Robinson, the chief defense lawyer, proclaiming Lizzie's innocence. So that trial, he was young when he was one of the lawyers. I think he was 25. That haunted him the rest of his life, that trial.
Oh my God.
So
Wow. That's pretty cool.
it is.
Right in East Bridgewater. We're so famous. We have famous people here.
Oh, the town's full of rich history. It ought
Oh,
to be
it
a
absolutely
touristy
is.
town.
Yes.
It ought to be a touristy
Yeah.
town. I mean, everybody brags about Salem, but if all the little businesses got together and did something
Maybe if
here
you killed a
with the
couple
history.
witches, you might be able to get up there, but God.
I mean, when I went there, I wasn't impressed when I went to Salem. I mean, that's where I got my cloak and my staff and my top hat that I do the tour with here, but East Bridgewater is rich in history.
There's some good places in Salem.
I stay away from Salem in October. I'd
I know
rather go
it's
there
a lot of people.
any other time of the year, but no thank you to October. It's just
Yeah, it's
crazy.
packed.
It's just crazy, and it's off the hook. It's like Mardi Gras, you know,
Tell me
Yeah.
about it.
drunken people.
I did it for 13 years.
I know. Huh. Yeah, I went a couple times, and that's when I said no more. No more.
No mas, no mas.
I only went that once.
So I keep looking over here on we have the big chapters of the book over here next to Wayne. What is the candle experiment?
Oh,
What
that's
is-
cool. I was going to bring
what's
that up. That's
about?
good.
The candle experiment. We tried, like energy as a conductor, I mean, running water as a conductor for energy, so isn't a burning candle. So I tried an experiment where I took an old window shade that we found above the ceiling in Laurie's shop. It was a little like secret storage area, and we found all kinds of things up there. And we hung it in the back hall where there used to be a double set of doors, and when they renovated the building, they made it into a single door. So I would go there around midnight, and I'd put this shade up, and I'd put dolls on the floor in front of the shade, and I would light a candle, and I would sit there, and I'd start reciting names of the businesses and people from the Masonic building in the past. And I'd feel a cold breeze, and then the candle would start flickering, so I'd snap pictures. And in the photographs, you can actually see other figures in the heat trace, like it's pulling the heat trace from the candle, and you can see figures in the different photographs that I took.
Oh, wow.
And every time I did that, I could hear stuff moving around behind the shade, but I never got up to look because I didn't want the shade falling on the candle.
Right.
Right.
Good
Oh,
idea.
my God.
Yeah, so that's what and I actually did that in chapter 8, The Unexpected Visitor. She was having a psychic medium Halloween Eve upstairs in the building, and Laurie and I went upstairs and cleaned for the show. She went back down to the shop as it was open, and I lit a candle in the center of the hallway, and I was squatted down taking pictures. Something actually, I couldn't see it, but it came down the hall and hit me with such force on my right shoulder that I flew backwards and the camera went flying.
Oh, my
wow.
God.
And I didn't know what was going on, so I grabbed the camera and I looked back at the viewfinder, and there was a large purple orb. I snapped the photograph just in time. It was almost out of the picture, and it's actually a huge picture in the book under chapter.
Yeah, I just want
Hey.
to
Oh my
show this
goodness.
again. That can we zoom in on this, Russ? This is what we're talking about. This is Wayne's book, Faces in the Window, East Bridgewater, Mass. It's an awesome book. You know, it's got, this one I'll open up to. It has, I will show something I will show, but you know, it has like even, I'm just want to flash through the pictures and stuff that's in this thing. There are 500 pictures.
500 pictures.
500 pictures in this book. Really easy to read. Has a lot of cool stories in it, and this is Wayne put a lot of work into this. It's all been. Some of these pictures are unbelievable. They're vintage. You know, where'd you find that?
There's
some of the vintage
antique
ones?
photographs. A lot of the information in there took me years to find.
Right.
Then I borrowed some of the Worshipful Master photographs, or I actually took photographs of them at the Masonic Lodge to go into the chapter under the Setauket Lodge, which is the history of the Masonic Lodge here in town, which is no more. They closed due to membership, and they joined the Mother Lodge, Fellowship Lodge in Bridgewater.
Oh, wow. That's too bad. Well, it's just so much information. And if you're local and you are on Facebook at all, Wayne posts historic pictures every single day throughout the day. And there's always something, and you got a lot of stuff. You inherited a lot
Where
of
does he
stuff.
post these on Facebook?
It's, you know you're from East Bridgewater and it's all historical pictures and people's memories of the town. So for about a year, I think a year, I lose track, but been flooding it with old photographs from my own collection and old newspaper clippings of things that happened that a lot of people don't know about the town.
It's on. Is it on the East Bridgewater Hub as well?
I was posting it on there, but it's a lot of work to go back and forth.
Okay.
and more of the people that have the historical interest are on, you're from East Bridgewater, rather than the hub. The hub's more like a,
Yeah.
I don't
Lost
know what you
dogs and
yeah, stuff like that.
complaining and
Things, yes, yeah, things for sale.
venting.
No.
Oh my goodness! But I find really fascinating, and you've had a whole run of like yearbook pictures
Yes,
lately,
the old
like old
photographs
from yearbooks, and one of the pictures was actually. We have senior volunteers here as well as student volunteers. So one of our senior volunteers, Shirley, it was a picture of her mother, I believe, Shirley Brigham's mother.
Oh,
Forget
yes.
the maiden name.
Um,
But it was really funny because as soon as I saw the picture, her granddaughter is in our multimedia club, and as soon as I saw the picture, I'm like, oh my God, that's Emily, and it was the spitting image.
was it Morton, the last name?
Oh, I can't remember.
I know the picture you're talking about.
Yeah,
Because I
and-
remember she
and
wrote in.
She looks identical. I thought, oh my Lord, that's amazing. And
Well-
even Shirley said, I've never realized how much she looked like her before.
A lot of those photographs actually came from the late Margaret Alexander, who was a town historian's collection,
Right.
which I acquired, and I've been sharing them, with a tribute to her, courtesy of her, on the website. And a lot of the pictures I've never even seen myself. There
Oh,
was a
they're
lot of
great.
rare photographs that I have never seen.
Yeah.
So everyone's enjoying them like she would have liked everyone to.
Yes,
So-
I think that is so wonderful, and I know people are enjoying them. I'm enjoying them, and they have old Robbins Pond pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Robbins Pond used to be a big deal. You'd come down from the city and on the trolley and go out to the pond, and they had cabins, and
Ferris wheel, merry-go-round. It was
Yeah.
quite the place.
it was a big deal to go down to Robbins Pond. But
A lot of tragedies there too.
yes,
Over the a lot of people drowned there in the pond.
yeah, and wasn't so the Wallendorfs? Walchendorfs. Didn't one of them, she ended up in her head in a trunk or
The
something?
suitcase murders back in
Ew.
1923, where
Yeah.
she went to Boston for an illegal procedure, and they gave her too much anesthesia, and they killed her. So they had to get rid of the evidence
Ugh.
because the doctors were well known. So they chopped the body up and put it into
God.
suitcases and threw it in the Merrimack River.
That's up near you.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it was quite the story.
Oh,
Yeah, they've done a lot
Wow.
of bodies in the Merrimack River.
oh, I bet they
Drake,
have.
we had the Edgerly murders, so
Mhm.
that's did it to his wife, chopped her up and put her in the river.
Wow.
Threw her in the river. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's just so many things happen, like even in a little small town.
Yes. Oh, there was a lot of stuff that happened here in town.
Yeah.
I can't post everything on,
No.
on the website, but there's a lot of things that happen that people don't know about. With the
Mhm.
Sheldon murder,
Oh yeah,
the
Kimball
mansion,
Sheldon.
yes.
Yep.
There's a lot
Margaret
of
told me all about that.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
quite a story as
Yeah.
well.
She was amazing, and when we first started investigating the town hall,
Mhm.
she would come,
Yep.
and I was there with Bay State Paranormal,
Okay.
a friend of mine, Lizzie, used to run that, and God help. I mean, she was a trooper. It's like midnight,
Yep.
everybody had a key in those days. The old town hall was like a birthright. It's like, oh, I got a key to town hall. Yeah, I do too. And you just pop in. But yeah, she would come and let us in.
She was a great lady. She actually
was.
accompanied us when we investigated the Washburn Public Library and Dr. Bannerman's house.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a blast.
Oh yeah.
She had a blast. She was a great woman.
Yeah, and that's another haunted location where our Council on Aging now stands. I don't know if it's still haunted.
Well, I know when they were
but-
renovating it, they had a fence around it, and I walked in to take pictures on the outside, and the guy said, "You can't come in here. This is a hard hat area." I said, "I'm taking pictures for historical purposes."
Mhm.
And I said, we also did a paranormal investigation here. Did you find anything? I said, yes. He goes, wait a minute, don't tell me. He goes, upstairs in the right bedroom? I said, yes. And when we walked in that room on the investigation, it was so oppressive in there, we had to turn around and walk out of that room. And we were standing in the hallway, and there's like a small butler's stairs that went down to the kitchen, and something went down those stairs.
Ooh.
And we looked, and I mean, it was full of cobwebs. I mean, black cobwebs, but something, you could hear it going down the stairs. So we went through the cobwebs and downstairs, and there was nothing there.
Wow.
But they had a lot of tools disappearing and things being moved. I don't know if they have, but we were supposed to be invited back to do another investigation after the senior center moved in, but we were never called. But a gentleman called me when we did our first investigation there. He actually lived in the District of Columbia. That was the caller ID number on my phone. And he said, I saw my grandfather's house on your website. And he said when they lived there, this was back in the 30s, I guess his grandmother was doing the preserves or something. It blew up and burnt her face.
Ooh.
So they had to cover all the mirrors with cloth so she couldn't see herself.
Oh.
Years later, they sold the house, and they were driving by because they still had relatives in town. And he said to his mother, oh, if I buy the house, do you want to move back in? She goes, there's something wrong with that place. I would never move back in there. So for years, there was things going on there. And today, I'm certain I mean, there's energy. The energy's not going to disappear, as you know.
Yeah, right. Well, a lot of Native American, you know, that was a big spot for them. So I understand that.
Yeah.
I can understand that still being there. It's not going to leave. And of course, King Philip's War was all over.
Yes, exactly.
All over the place here. But and they burned.
Excuse me.
You know, there's a stone down at the edge of that field by the Council on Aging.
The Robert Latham house, I think.
So the houses were burned there. So who knows who died in that. All very, very historic, this whole area.
So I want to go back to the antique shop again. Has Laurie ever had anything in there that was so repulsive that she didn't want it? I mean,
no.
No.
Both of us are Reiki too, so she'll cleanse everything
Yeah.
when she brings it into the shop. So we've never had. I mean, one lady bought I believe it was a trunk there and brought it home, and she said that there was a little girl attached to it. They saw a little girl in their house. But how they know it came with the trunk, I don't know. But they said once they brought the trunk home, there was a little girl in their house. But we've never had. I mean, when we did the investigation, which is in one of the chapters of the chapter 10, the investigation was a little nerving in some of the
Why don't
areas
you
of the building.
Talk about a little bit about some of the nerving things.
Got a few more minutes.
There was one, we went into a closet. It was a walk-in closet, and there was a inverted pentagram in red on the wall, which none of us had ever seen before. And the psychic was looking at it, and then she turned in the opposite direction. She says, I don't like this wall. It's hiding something. And then she ran from the closet, and I've never seen her act like this before. And she goes, I don't like that wall. It's hiding something. And she said, they're mad at you. You discovered too many of their secrets. I said, well, what is their name, or what is his name? And she goes, I don't know. It's Beelzebub. And she kept saying it.
Oh,
and I'm
God.
like, what is Beelzebub? And right when I said that, she goes, I don't know. I think it's a devil's name. The cameraman said something, just whispered Satan in my ear. And then she said to me, there's something standing behind you with horns and hooves. So I turned and took a picture into the closet, and there was a large landscape print on the wall. And on the left-hand side of the picture, you can see this big face, and the picture's actually in the book. You can see this big face looking out of the picture, manifested on the glass.
Ooh,
But yeah, there was some,
Funky stuff.
yeah.
That's pretty
definitely.
cool.
Oh my God. So if people want to get this book,
How can I get it?
how can they get it?
Yes, they can stop into Mrs. Swift's and More Antiques.
Where is that?
It's at 16 West Union Street here in downtown East Bridgewater. I am there on Sundays from 1 to 5, and Saturdays from 1 to 5, sorry, and Sundays from 9 to 12. Or you can message me on Facebook, and I can drop one off, or we can also mail them. You know, there's going to be postage included on that, but the books are $50, but well worth the money.
Yeah,
There's a
500
lot of
photographs, just think of that.
some of the information in there took me years to find, so it's very well written. I'm not just saying that because I wrote it, but all the feedback from everyone that has purchased one so far said the book is incredible. When are you going to write another book? So it's well worth the money, and you get actually a bookmark to go with it, your choice of a bookmark. Lori had these postcards made of different photographs, so you actually get a bookmark to go with it. And like I said, we can mail them, I can drop them off, or you can visit the shop.
Excellent.
Nice. Wow, you have to get those up online.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait I've only had it a month, so I'm going to wait a little bit longer, and then I'll
Yeah, you definitely
do
have
that.
to.
I mean, they're going fast, so.
Right. Well,
I
that's
mean,
the good news.
The cool thing about the book in itself is you don't have to be from East Bridgewater to be enthralled by it.
Right.
There's so many cool things in there, and some of the pictures. It's just like I said, once again, I can't get over it. 500 pictures is mind-boggling, actually. So
I can't read a book with just words. I have to, instead of figuring what something looked like, I have to see it.
yep, that's why I
what
always read
makes it.
Playboy.
Nice. Nice, Ron.
Just saying.
Yeah, or you got a big chuckle in the control room from that. Nice work. Oh my
For the articles.
yeah, for the articles.
Yeah.
For the articles.
Anyway, so anything else you want to add before we say goodbye to you in the show?
I would like to say thank you for having me on the show. It was a pleasure.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah, it was
I'm glad we finally got you here.
really interesting, actually.
Been messaging him. So, do you want to be on the show? Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
I'm I work 7 days a week, so my schedule's
Oh,
kind of,
God.
I don't have much free time for I get up at 4:15 every morning.
Oh, wow.
So,
Is that a real time?
No, thank you.
yes.
Oh, okay.
It's dark 30.
Oh,
That's what time
Dr.
it is.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So,
Anyways,
we are getting the wrap queue, and thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being on the show, and I hope that you sell all your books.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you're going to do another printing of them ever, but
I had 200 printed. I do have the thumb drive if I need more to print. So.
Well,
And they're going quick, so.
awesome. Well, I think that everybody in East Bridgewater should get down there and beyond and get your book. Get
There
your
you
book
go.
at Mrs. Swift's and more. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we will see all of you again next month. And you know what next month is?
Christmas.
No. It's our 6th year show.
Wow.
It'll
Really?
be our
Congratulations.
72nd episode.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. It amazes me.
Congratulations.
We haven't killed each other, and we made
Yeah.
it.
It's the counselor show. We have to bring a counselor in.
Yeah. We'll have mediation.
Mediation.
So, well, good night, everybody, and
God bless.
we will see you next month.
From ghoulies to ghosties, long-leggedy beasties, and things that go bump in the night. Deliver us, good Lord.